This is Lesson 5-2C from the Algebra Readiness textbook. For today's lesson, you'll want a sharpened pencil in your notes packet. Pause the video, gather your supplies, and work the study guide problems. Come on back when you're ready to compare your answers to mine. The first question that will appear on your upcoming assessment is, write a fraction as a decimal. In this case, the mixed number is 7 1/8. To convert a fraction to a decimal, you would divide the numerator by the denominator, and in doing so, I get 7 125 thousandths. This is a terminating decimal. A terminating decimal has an end. The next question is write 13/18 as a decimal, and then write whether the whether the decimal is terminating or repeating. Again, I take the numerator and divide it by the denominator, and you get 72 hundredths with the 2 repeating. Notice that my bar is only above the 2 because only the 2 repeats. It will be marked wrong if you extend that bar above the 7 because that would indicate the 7 to be repeating as well. The next question. Here's a multiple choice question that makes you do a lot of work. It says which statement is true. We need to solve every one of these and figure out which one is a true statement. Letter A, 75 hundredths is less than 75 hundredths to the second power. First thing you should do is calculate 75 hundredths to the second power. When you do that math, you find out that 75 hundredths to the second power is actually, boy, if I could stop the highlighter here, is actually equal to 0 and 5,625 10,000ths. So how does that compare to 75 hundredths? When you compare decimals, you first look in the ones place, they're the same. You look in the tenths place, and there's a 7, and here there's a 5. That means that 75 hundredths is bigger. Letter B, -3/8 is less than -38 hundredths. Now, we want to either convert both of them to fractions or both to decimals. I change them both to decimals. Now ask yourself, is -375 thousandths indeed smaller than -38 hundredths? It actually is bigger, isn't it? Because on a number line, think this through on a number line. If this is -1 and this is 0, -38 hundredths would be, if this is half, would be about right here, and -375 thousandths would be just before it. And the closer a number is to the right, the larger the number is. So this should be greater than. Letter C, 46 25ths is greater than 1 5/6. Again, either convert them both to fractions with a common denominator or convert them both to decimals. I went the route of converting them to decimals. 46 25ths as a decimal is 1 84 hundredths. 1 5/6 as a decimal is 1 83 hundredths with the 3 repeating. While these two are very close, 1 84 hundredths is larger than 1 83 hundredths with the 3 repeating. So far this one is correct. Let's look at the last one. -2 3/5 is greater than 1 1/2. Immediately this should send up a red flag for you. Because, is there ever a time that a negative number is bigger than a positive number? I don't think so. Today's learning target is to compare and order rational numbers. When you're going to compare numbers, sometimes it works to put them on a number line, like this. When I see that my denominator is 9, that's going to be what I use to make my tick marks on my number line. Here's 0, and then every tick mark represents 1/9. Notice that this all the way to -1, which is the same as -9/9. And then going to the right, it's the same increment, only positive. If I place these two numbers on a number line, I see that 2/9 is right here and 4/9 is right here. 2/9, so that means that 4/9 is greater than 2/9. When you see the word compare in your think bubble, in your head, you should immediately think greater than, less than, equal to. The next one, letter B, -4/9. Well, -4/9 on my number line would be located right here. -2/9 is right here. The closer the number is, or the further the number is to the right, the larger the number. So in this case, -4/9 is less than -2/9. All right, pause the video and try the next one. Come on back to compare your answer to mine. Much to the same scenario that we did in the warm-up, we have a negative number and a positive number. -4/9 is right here, and +2/9 is right here. Even without identifying these on a number line, you should know that a negative number is always smaller than a positive number. Now, it's also helpful to find the least common denominator to compare numbers. Find the least common multiple of the two denominators. Remember, the denominator is the bottom. I know that the least common multiple of 7 and 9 is 63. Remember the shortcut of if the 7 and the 9 have no common factors, then you can just multiply the two numbers together. How did I get from 7 to 63? I multiplied by 9. So I'm going to make an equivalent fraction. 9 times 4 is 36. 36/63 is the same fraction as 4/7. Then I'm going to do the same for the second fraction. 9, how do I get from 9 to 63? I multiplied by 7. To make an equivalent fraction, I will multiply the numerator by 7 also. 8 times 7 is 56. When I have the same denominator, it's very easy for me to tell which fraction is bigger. I know that because I can just compare the numerator. The 56 is larger than 36. So, going back to my original problem, between 4/7 and 8/9, 4/7 is less than 8/9. I'd like you to pause the video and compare each of the fractions by finding the least common denominator of each pair. Come on back to compare your answers to mine. For the first one, I got a common denominator of 35. So 6/7 is greater than 4/5. In B, I used a common denominator of 12. So 2/3 is less than 3/4. And lastly, this is probably the trickiest one, but -15/20 and -14/20. -15/20 is smaller than -14/20. So -3/4 is less than -7/10. The next thing we want to accomplish is to be able to order numbers from least to greatest. There are two ways to order numbers. Write these down in your notes. The first way is to convert all of your numbers to fractions with common denominators. The second method is to convert them all to decimals. You can choose which method you prefer based on the given numbers. So for example, if I were asked to order -1/2, 3/4, -1, and 2/5 from least to greatest, they're already in fraction form. So I would probably find fractions with a common denominator. So I look at the numbers 2, 4, and 5 and say my least common multiple between the three numbers is 20. So I'm going to rewrite these with a base or with a denominator of 20. Now, Now, to get from 2 to 20, I multiplied by 10, so this would be negative 10 twentieths. To get from 4 to 20, I multiplied by 5, so I'm going to multiply my 3 by 5, and I get 15 twentieths. Negative 1 is the same as negative 20 twentieths. Then on my 2/5, to get from 5 to 20, I multiplied by 4. 4 times 2 is 8 twentieths. Now, the common denominator is the number of tick marks between the whole numbers on a number line. This is important for you to remember. So, let's say, I didn't give myself a very good number line here, but let's say that this is the location of 0. And let's say that we're going to go up in steps of 20, can we go up in steps of 5? 5 twentieths. Now, 20 twentieths is the same as 1 whole. Just as a little, oh yeah, remember that? Okay, now going to the left of 0 are my negative numbers. Negative 15 twentieths, or 5 twentieths, negative 10 twentieths, negative 15 twentieths, and then negative 20 twentieths, which is really equal to negative 1. So now, when I put these on a number line, negative 10 twentieths is right here, which is the same as negative 1/2. 3/4, positive 3/4 is the same as 15 twentieths. So I put that dot there. Negative 1, or negative 20 twentieths, is located right here on my number line. And then 2/5 is 8 twentieths. Well, that's between 5 twentieths and 10 twentieths, but closer to 10. So 8 twentieths is right here, so 2/5. Now, when you're ordering numbers, they don't want me to order the fractions with the common denominator. They want me to order the original values, these right here, or the numbers I wrote on the top of the number line. So what I would expect to see is you to write, now you can read them in order from left to right. So I would expect you to write negative 1 is less than negative 1/2, which is less than 2/5, which is less than 3/4. And showing your work involves showing your equivalent fractions and properly numbering your number line. Remember that your number line tick marks should have the denominator, or should use the common denominator. Let's do another one. Write the numbers in order from least to greatest. In this case, I've got 1/4, negative 2/10, negative 3/5, and 1 1/10. I notice that 2 of my numbers are already in decimal form. You could go either way on this one, but I think I'm going to write these as decimals. I know that 1/4 is the same as 25 hundredths, and then negative 2/10 is already a decimal, and then negative 3/5. Well, I know that 1/5 is 2/10. So 3/5 would be negative 6/10. And 1 1/10. All right, so let's put these, now we're going to put them on the number line. With the number line, let's go in steps of, let's see, I have to get all the way to negative 6/10 and all the way as high as 1 1/10. So I think I'm going to go in steps of 2/10. So every tick mark is going to represent 2/10. You have to use an even increment. So if I go up in steps of 2/10, I need to go in steps of 2/10 all the way along the number line. Then I have to do the same increment going in reverse. Negative 2/10, negative 4/10, negative 6/10, negative 8/10, negative 1. All right, here we go. Now let's place these on the number line. 1/4 is positive 25 hundredths. Well, if this is right here is 2/10, this is 4/10, exactly in the middle is 3/10. So where is 0.25? That's exactly halfway between 2/10 and 3/10. So I'm going to write above that dot 1/4. The next number is -2/10. -2/10 is written right on my number line, so -0 and 2/10. -3/5 is the same as -6/10. -6/10 is located right here, so I'm going to write the original fraction right above it. Then 1 and 1/10. Well, 1 and 1 and 2/10 are right here at the end, so 1 and 1/10 would be exactly halfway between them. 1 and 1/10. Now I simply read these numbers from left to right, and they are put in the proper order. So using again the original values, -3/5 is less than -0 and 2/10, which is less than 1/4, which is less than 1 and 1/10. All right, pause the video and try this last one on your own. Decide if you would rather find a common denominator or convert them all to decimal. Then I want you to put them on the number line and then list the numbers in proper order. When I do this problem, I see that 12 would be a nice common denominator. I'm going to rewrite each decimal with a denominator of 12. Three times 4 gives me 12. 4 times 2 is 8. These look like they're all positive and they're all 12s. So I'm going to start with 0 and go 1/12, 2/12, 3/12, 4/12, 5/12, 6/12, 7/12, 8/12, 9/12, 10/12, 11/12, and then 12/12. Let's extend this number line. There we go. All right, let's place these points. 2/3 is the same as 8/12. So here's my dot, and I write 2/3 above it. 1/6, oh, did anybody see I made a mistake here? I thought that was 1/2. So I would have to write 2/12. There we go. So 1/6 is the same as 2/12. I know that was driving some of you crazy. I'm sorry about that. And so you would write 1/6 above it. 1 is the same as 12/12. So you would write 1 above it. And then 5/12 will remain the same, 5/12. Now my numbers are in order. I simply write them the order they appear up here on the top of my number line. So you should have written 1/6 is less than 5/12, which is less than 2/3, which is less than 1. All right, give the 5-2C worksheet a try.